Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
India's rich culinary heritage has always celebrated the consumption of millets. These ancient grains have been an integral part of our diets, providing nourishment and sustenance for generations. However, in recent years, we have witnessed a disheartening decline in the consumption of millets, resulting in modern lifestyle diseases. Recognizing the urgency for change, the potential of millets to positively impact our well-being cannot be understated. As the leading global producer of millets, India is leading the International Year of Millets with Mission Millets, a trailblazing CSR initiative by ITC and Network18. Joining us today on our list of panelists, we have Dr. M.J. Khan, Chairman, Indian Chamber of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Bhavna Sharma, Head of Nutrition Science Department, ITC FBD, Mr. Shivkumar, Group Head, Agribusiness and Sustainability, ITC Limited, Mr. B. Dayakar Rao, CEO, NutriHub ICAR IIMR, which is the Indian Institute of Millet Research, Mr. Sekat Datta Mazumdar, Chief Operations Officer, NutriPlus Knowledge Program, Agribusiness and Innovation Platform, ICRISAT. Welcome everybody to the panel. Well, let's start the conversation with you, Dr. Sharma, today. You know, in a world where there is health and well-being, which is becoming increasingly important, it is very crucial to actually understand the significance of millets and what the journey was for it to become a superfood. So I'd like you to start by telling us a simple thing. What exactly are millets? Why are they considered to be good for one's well-being? And what's been the journey of millets from just a simple grain to a superfood?
Say, in recognition of the importance of millets as a very nutritious and a sustainable food source, the United Nations General Assembly, as we all know, had declared 2023 as the International Year of Millets. This entire initiative has one aim, basically to raise awareness about this really important crop, which somewhere got lost probably in the last few decades, and what's so good about its nutritional and ecological benefits, right? In fact, it would not be an exaggeration to say that this is one ancient grain which has now united multiple domains of people, right from researchers, the green crusaders, the agriculturalists, and anybody, in fact, who's passionate about sustainability and conscious food eating, right? Millets, as we all know, are a group of small seeded grasses, and they have been cultivated for thousands of years in different parts of the world. And they have specially been around for us in Africa and Asia, right? The best part about them that they're really hardy crops. They can grow in any land. They require very less water and fertilizers than other grains probably. And that's why it makes an ideal crop for even, small scale farmer. The other good part, which is on the other spectrum as we are talking about, is the nutrition and the health benefits of it, right? There are various kinds of grains. So the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, which is FSSAI, had classified millets into three parts: the major, the minor, and the pseudo millets, basically about their grain sizes. However, all of them are power packed with so many macro and micronutrients that if I start to list down benefits for each of them individually, it's probably going to take me a very long time. However, if I look at, some of the benefits which, tie together all the millets, they are naturally low GI. That means they have a very low glycemic index. So basically they would have a low GI, which is a GI lower than 55. That makes them ideal for anybody who is a pre-diabetic or a diabetic, which I think we have all heard in the recent reports is emerging to be a big issue in our country and even worldwide, right? They're hypoallergenic. This is a very important factor for a grain. In a world where a lot of population, adult population, which is either underdiagnosed or not diagnosed, and a population of children, which is now emerging with many, many allergies, a grain to be present, which is hypoallergenic in nature, is a boon. It's a big, big benefit to everyone. It is a powerhouse of calcium. It's a powerhouse of proteins, fiber, and many other antioxidants. So if I take example of probably only one, which I think a lot of us know, which is the finger millet or ragi. it is so rich in calcium and antioxidants that even the communities from both nutritionists and even doctors, they know that a regular consumption of this millet as a part of a diversified balanced diet is actually effective in reducing, the onset of osteopenia or osteoporosis eventually, right? And it also supports many other issues. Pearl millet, for instance, is an excellent source of magnesium, iron, and zinc, and all of them are important for maintaining the immune system and the brain function.
Okay, well, an absolute whole range of benefits which you've pointed out, Doctor. Low GI, and there it is hypoallergenic, as well as the fact that it is gluten free. It has a high amount of calcium, protein, antioxidants. So there is every reason to eat millets in our diet. But Mr. Rao, I'd like to know from you, as we strive to make these healthier choices in our diets, it becomes crucial to understand the nutritional aspects which were pointed out and the health benefits of millets. Please tell us why millets is considered a superfood according to you, and what are the nutritional and health benefits?
I think it's a very important and pertinent question because in today's context, why millets have to be rediscovered, the unique selling proposition is the nutrition. Of course, apart from the climate resilient crop, which is beneficial for the millions of the dryland, the smallholder farmers, but the nutrition brings us immediately onto the center stage. And rightly, especially in the context of International Year of Millets, the goodness of millets not only just should be restricted to India, but to the whole human world. So that's the reason I think India has taken a right step. But to talk about the nutritional benefits, I think for a single grain to have so many benefits is something very, very, very unique about the millets. Now, Dr. Bhavna was talking about a few of the things, but I would like to just emphasize about other things, especially the nutritional profile it has in terms of the minerals, vitamins, B complex vitamins, and antioxidants, and the rich dietary fiber. That is very important again in the modern context, especially when the NCD and non-communicable diseases are prowling like anything, whether it is diabetes or hypertension or any other, even obesity also. So, considering these points, when we just get into one by one, so I think each of the millet, there are three major millets, what we call as jawar, bajra, ragi in Indian names, but we have other six minor millets also, which are also really powerhouses of nutrition. So combined together, the millets form a very, very important echelon for our well-being also. Now, when you talk about the micronutrients, which are very important because these are many a time what we are talking about the hidden hunger, because outwardly you look normal, but then when your system says that you are deficient in various micronutrients, and millets are an excellent sources and the the greatest reason why we should include millets in our diets, because by nature they are really just bestowed with these benefits. Each millet has something very unique about it. Now if you talk about bajra, or the major millet, which occupies about 50% of the total production of millets in the country, which is primarily grown in Rajasthan. It has a high iron because we are talking about the anemia, Mukt Bharat, and all those things. Most of our public safety net programs were primarily with rice and wheat. Now, this is a big, big bet for us how we can include bajra or pearl millet, which has the highest iron content in it, and also good iron which can be absorbed and bioavailable also. And more so, the new cultivars that are coming up are biofortified ones, which also meets the RDF requirement of our iron also. I think this is a new development that is happening, so that you don't need to go for the artificial supplements rather than a natural diet that can really impart to that.
Now, coming to you, Mr. Mazumdar, in an era where environment sustainability has in fact become a global priority, it is imperative to explore agri practices that can positively impact our planet. So, can you shed light in terms of how millets contribute to environmental sustainability? Are there any specific environmental advantages of cultivating and consuming millets as compared to other crops? And could you also briefly highlight any genetic diversity of millets?
Yeah, I think a very apt question as to why millets should be mainstreamed. And one important point which needs to be considered is environmental sustainability, especially when we talk with respect to agriculture practices. This directly relates to the choice of that alternate crop which we are looking at. At present, it is rice and wheat which is dominating, but they are not environmentally sustainable. And what are these crops, the alternate crops, what should they do? And how do they make it, how do we say that they are environmentally sustainable? They should produce less greenhouse gases, number one. They must be less resource intensive, which means that they should require less of water, less of fertilizers, and less of pesticides. And they should, of course, which has been highlighted as a good source of macro and micronutrients, so that we could actually address the issues of nutrition and health and safety, nutrition and dietary diversity. So if you look at all these 3 points in terms of greenhouse gases, resource intensive, and also good source of nutrients, it is millets which have the most desirable attributes, which we have highlighted. And of course, millets have are hardy crop, and they grow in short duration. And what is the reason that millets are hardy crop? It is because unlike wheat and rice, which are C3 crops, these are C4 crops, and they have a different cycle, which makes them less resource intensive, which means they require less of fertilizers. They can grow in soils which are not as much requirement of, nutrients. They use the nutrients very efficiently from the soil. And of course, the water and pesticides requirements are also less because they're also hardy in terms of their resistance to pests and diseases. So if you look at this angle, then, and also what are these millets, I would like to highlight first. If you look at the FAO, there are 11 millets which has been highlighted. They are pearl, proso, foxtail, barnyard, little, kodo, brown top, finger, guinea millet, as well as fonio, sorghum or the great millet, and teff. So all these millets actually qualify in terms of being environmentally sustainable. And further, if you look at in terms of the greenhouse emissions compared to, say, rice or wheat, if you actually see the carbon equivalent emission in terms of kg of carbon per hectare emitted, rice would emit at around 4,500 and millets would be around 800 odd. So you can see that this is the difference in terms of what millet does in terms of managing the environment and making it more sustainable, because it releases less of the greenhouse gases, especially the CO2.
All right, just hold your thoughts. Time for a short break. We'll be back in a jiffy. Welcome back. You're still tuned into ITC and Network 18 present ITC Mission Millets launch panel discussion. We still have our panelists with us to take us through a couple of more questions. Now, Dr. Khan, let's talk about the International Year of Millets. You know, this year-long initiative really shines a spotlight on millets, their unparalleled nutritional value, their potential to transform our agri-landscape. Can you give us a sense in terms of the significance of the International Year of Millets, its objectives? What are the key initiatives and strategies in place to promote millet cultivation, processing, consumption during this particular year?
You see, the world is facing three key problems today. One is the climate change and therefore the consequences of climate on food security and food production. The other is the nutritional insecurity. India particularly, if you see that world is by and large food secure, even Africa is. India achieved surplus situation almost 20 years back in across the crop segment commodities, except after the oilseed. But we are ranking very high on the nutritional insecurity, ranging from 18% to 32% on various parameters. Third is, of course, the trade. India's share in the agriculture production is close to 10% of the world agriculture at $550 billion out of $5.5 trillion of the world agriculture economy. But we are just 2.2% in the world trade. And the farmers' share in the consumer's pie that has also declined over a period of time. So these are the key challenges. Now, millets are one silver bullet which addresses all these ailments. So putting the spotlight back on the crops which are almost lost, because if you look at the acreage in the last 5 decades, the acreage has come down almost by 50%. But let me congratulate the scientists that they have been able to develop the varieties, that the yields have gone up. This year, the production has gone up by almost 3 million tons. So today, on the India's proposal, the United Nations declared 2023 as the year of millets. This brings into focus all these efforts that have been undertaken and initiated by the government of India level. But more importantly, the role that industry is playing today. Look at ITC, the pioneering efforts it is doing. Tata's role that they are playing. So many companies that are coming up, and most importantly, the startups, 300 startups in millets, they are coming out with the innovation, unseen before. So in terms of bringing the spotlight on the millets, today India is going to be the biggest beneficiary, accounting for almost 20% of the all millets and almost 40% of the all millet production. So therefore, for India, the world trade is going to expand substantially, because Indian embassies worldwide are celebrating, India is going to gain.
Sure. Mr. Shivkumar, coming to you now, through innovative approaches, educational campaigns, as well as strategic partnerships, ITC has been instrumental in giving awareness or providing awareness to communities about the immense value of millets and it being a nutritious as well as sustainable food source. So can you provide us insights into the actions which are being taken by ITC as its group, as a part of the Mission Millets initiative? How is the organization really working to raise awareness at this point in time? And how is ITC helping millets get back on the tables of Indian households?
Yeah. We have heard from other panelists that millets obviously is a superfood, wonder food, smart food, nature smart, and so on, with all the benefits accompanying it, whether on the consumers or on the planet and for the farmers. I think given all this, millet should have taken off by now at a far different level than where we are. Out of even a reduced production level of 20 million tons of millets today, not even 1 million tons is going as value-added consumption to the various segments of consumers that we talked about. So obviously there are some barriers that we need to deal with to be able to take it there. It has a center of plate opportunity as a more nutritious staple. It has a snacking opportunity as a healthy snacking, and therefore the opportunity is large. So in terms of all the efforts that need to go in, need to be on the front of understanding the barriers as importantly as we are understanding the benefits. If you look at from a consumer side, while there is a broader awareness that millets are good, which millet is good for what purpose, what is good for me, is one area that there is still a gap that needs to be worked on, and therefore that's one focus area for ITC Mission Millets. The second is that in the taste front, one is used a lot more across the country. The pellets for a lot more for rice and wheat, whereas much less used to the millets, certainly for center of plate. Snacking has improved a little bit because taste is either masked or enhanced with things like sugar or spices. But taste is one area that the effort is required, and that's the area that we are working on. Look and feel of the food is also an issue. Color and texture, not as refined as rice and wheat. That's an area to be worked on. And at a household level, cooking time and effort is also an issue, much longer and more inconvenient compared to rice and wheat, because the soaking that is required before cooking and all of that is also key. And then prices are also a little high, is what a number of consumers feedback. And therefore, the effort of ITC in terms of raising consumption at one end is to deal with all of these issues in bringing a range of products with multiple millets, whether in the form of flours or in the form of cookies and noodles and snacks.
Okay. All right. Well, before we wrap up this conversation, Dr. Sharma, I wanted some thoughts from you to gain a deeper understanding of how ITC's efforts are in fact supporting millet farmers, promoting sustainable cultivation practices, and ensuring the availability of high quality millets. We'd like to ask you that are there any specific projects or programs which are initiated by ITC to support millet production, reach the consumer, which would support the millet value chain?
We believe that ITC is actually a unique organization which has a significant presence both at supply and demand side of agricultural products, right? And having the advantage of various divisions, like for example the food business divisions, which can pave the way of developing a value-added portfolio, right, and helps consumer to adopt products as a part of their balanced diet in a daily manner. We have a hotels business which crafts interesting and tasty dishes. So if you actually go to any of the ITC properties, you would see there are millet-based recipes every single day being given to the consumers. And the real-time feedback always comes back to say that we did not even know that you could actually make millet utpams or pancakes or even waffles for that matter in such an easy manner. And we would go back home and try that up. There is, of course, the biggest backbone for ITC, which is the agri business, which helps in supporting and collaborating with farmers to grow millets and, of course, earn profitably through the same, right? So it also works together for us because ITC as an organization, it works in a very sincere manner with some credible work there to offer healthy food solutions. It thinks planet first. It supports the local farmers, and it's definitely working towards a more sustainable India.
Okay, all right. That point is taken entirely. But as we conclude this insightful panel discussion, I'd like to say that millets does offer a holistic solution to address pressing health issues such as child underweight, as well as anemia in women. And Mission Millets, the CSR initiative by ITC and Network 18, is really driving this cause, spreading awareness and igniting the millet revolution that we need to see. Let's recognize our collective responsibility to reintegrate millets into our diets, preserving our cultural heritage and paving the way for a brighter future as well. Together, we can champion the millet revolution in India and beyond. I'd like to thank all of the panelists for joining in with their time as well as the invaluable contributions that they've brought. Let's carry the spirit of this discussion as we embark on this transformative journey with Mission Millets. Thank you very much for joining in and take care.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.